Hey guys, in last week's video we talked a little bit about redfish and speckled trout location, and I don't feel like I really did a great job of explaining what to look for per species. So today we're going to break it down with just redfish location. What am I looking for? How do I know what productive areas are? How can I separate the good from the bad? Okay. Now this isn't all redfish location. This deals in kind of a marsh situation where I'm going to look for redfish where I can sight fish for them. We're going to go into later on about how to find redfish in deeper water, and we'll talk about how to find them in the delta during this time of year. But today we're going to concentrate on redfish in the marsh in shallow water when I'm looking to sight fish for them. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a look at it, and I'm going to use the TV here, and I'm going to use Google Maps. Okay, we're going to take a look at Grand Bay, and this will apply just about anywhere. And what I'm going to look at is the things that I look for and knowing that I've got a productive area. Now this can work for whether or not you're fishing Mobile Bay, you're fishing Louisiana, Mississippi, wherever. This is our area, and these are things that I look for. Now these are things that I have found that work. So obviously there's plenty of variations. You may have your own things that work much better, but for me this works well, and I want to explain it to you, and I hope this time I do a little bit better job. So hang tight with me and we'll go through it. Cool. All right, so here's what we're looking at right here. This is Grand Bay. Right here is Baines Lake. Over here we've got Heron Bay, Heron Bayou, all that kind of business over there. But this is a nice textbook area of what we might look for. And I'm going to kind of zoom in real quick. And I'm going to do right here on the Mississippi-Alabama line. This is over technically in Grand Bay. I'm going to zoom in on this. And what we've got is we have a lot of just tidal creeks and open areas. And a lot of this can be very dizzying to get into, try to figure out what's going to hold fish, what's not going to hold fish. Now, one thing I like to say is redfish are moving constantly. So where they held fish at today may not hold fish tomorrow. But there's some pretty good rules of thumb. When we're looking at this area, what I want to look at first is I want to work the outside edges first. And I want to take a look at wind direction. If I've got wind pushing from this way, I can count on pretty much everything on this side, right here, to be mudded up. So on the back side of these islands is where I'm going to start looking for. And, tidal changes, wave action, and all that can change. Do I want to go pretty far in? Yeah, eventually I will, but I like to work my way out and then work in. And some of the things I'm looking for are pretty simple. So I'm going to come up here again. And let's take a look right here. Now for me, this is a pretty good thing because what I'm looking for is I've got a deep water run right in here. This is a place where redfish can kind of get out of the way. This is a tidal creek setup. And in here, what I'm going to look for is an area where I've got a slight tapered bank. So this way when I get into it, I know the redfish are going to find it more desirable because they don't want a sharply tapered bank where it just drops down, because predatory animals like dolphin and whatnot will push them up into and meet them up. And also the bait fish are also looking for these same kinds of areas. Some telltale things I'm looking for is oyster shells. These oyster shells are going to hide lots of different bait fish. Now one thing you do want to be careful of is when you're in here, it's easy to get a little bit stuck in some of these places, so just be mindful of your tide changes. On the outside areas, this is going to be most productive during a falling tide, and on your inside areas, further up into here, these are going to be more productive on your rising tide areas. Okay, so these are the things I look for in a general idea of redfish habitat. Okay, so this isn't set in stone. These are easy things to look at. Be mindful of wind direction. Be mindful of turbidity. Be mindful of salinity, and we can kind of take a look at different areas. I'm going to go zoom out real quick, and I'm going to show you another area. I'm going to go up to Dog River. And Dog River is right around the middle of the bay. We're going to come right on up, or a little bit north of the bay. And I'm going to show you kind of a textbook example. This right here is Dolphin Island Parkway right in through here. Here's the Mobile Yacht Club. But this is kind of a textbook example. So all of this in here, I don't know how well Google Maps is going to show me this. Right on the outside in here, I've got a deep water run, or deepish, deeper than the surrounding area. This is pretty shallow. This is going to be 1 to 3 feet, sometimes 4 to 6, just depends on if you're in these channels. But for the most part, where these redfish are going to come into is they're going to work their way up, down this bank, and then they're going to get into these areas in here. And one thing I found that's pretty interesting is I end up finding a lot more redfish on these wider areas than I find in here. Now, there are definitely redfish in here. They can be a little bit harder to find. You have a little bit more difficult time putting a shot together on them because these little grass flat areas can be tough. Okay, so this is kind of a textbook example. I've got a deep water run here. Okay, I've got a flat tapered bank around here. So this is a good idea of where I want to run for my fish. If I've had a good little blow, and then I might want to come in here because this is sheltered and protected. So these are things I look for. Going out from that, let's take a look at another couple items that I think is pretty cool. When you're out here, some of these areas aren't going to be as productive, and it can be tough to tell which is which. If I get into an area and I don't see any bait fish, and I don't see mullet, or I don't see sheep's head, or I don't see skates and rays, I'm probably going to abandon it. I'm probably going to walk out of it, or paddle or pole or whatever. So just be mindful of these things. Look at your wind direction. If my salinity is further south in the bay, so let's say this up here, and this part is showing very little salinity, there are probably redfish up here, but they're probably not going to be as shallow, because what happens is the salt water stays deeper as it's denser than fresh water, so they're going to stay in the deeper parts. Now, if I see that my salinity is higher down here, I'm just going to spend more of my time concentrating in this area. So this is what happens to benefit a fly fisherman more. Alright, so this is my little way of looking at it. We took a look at Grand Bay. We took a look at 2 examples up here. So yeah, I hope this is helpful to you, and we'll see you next time.